We're ready. We're recording. Call this meeting to order. Meeting of the Glendale-River School District Board, April 2nd, 2025. Roll call. Kitty Avalos. Here. Chris Robinson. Here. Karen Cronwell. Here. Daniel Bailey. Here. Carla Pennington Cross is here. We are all here. At this time, visitors and everyone in the room can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance if you wish.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I should probably use my mic.
Next on the agenda is agenda approval.
I move to approve the agenda as presented. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Agenda is approved. Board meeting minutes for March 19th, 2025. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the minutes from March 19th, 2025.
I'll second. Any discussion?
I just noticed one thing that merits correction, which would be under motions for contract approval, so reconvene an open session, it's item 5C. I think we need to change the language of the motions for Mr. Williams and Mr. Williams to be the same language we used for Anna's contract. So
Right, it's for a
approve
contract.
not an extension of.
Okay. Yes, Chris?
I have one change too. I was anticipated to arrive at 6:15 and I arrived closer to 6:45.
Okay. Anything else? Any objection to those changes? All right, we have a motion to approve the minutes for the March 19th meeting with the revisions suggested by Ms. Robinson and Ms. Bailey. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved as amended. Moving on to item 1F, which is our meeting grounding. I have a lot on my mind after yesterday. Chris and I were just reelected to the school board, unopposed, but it's exciting because it means we have a stable board and we're not gonna have turnover and we don't have to get up another learning curve. And I've been thinking about the hard year we've been through as an administrative team and as a board and all the work we've had to do. And speaking with each of you, for some of you who are here, you wouldn't know, we've all expressed doubt as we get through this work, right? Am I asking the right questions? Am I asking the right things? Am I thinking about the right things? And so I want to ground us tonight as we continue to do all this bread and butter work in a sense of self-worth and the value that we bring as board members and administrators to this leadership team. And I was looking through Maya Angelou today, which is what I do sometimes, and I found these two fabulous quotes that I'm keeping in mind. First, she said, "Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better." I love that so much because that's this idea of continuous growth, right? Continuous improvement sounds hackneyed, but that's what this is describing. It's what we ask for our kids and it's what we should ask for ourselves. And related to that was another quote that resonated with me from Maya Angelou, which is, "If our children are to approve of themselves, they must see that we approve of ourselves." And I think as leaders, we do have this obligation to model that kind of sense of self-confidence and self-worth and self-value so that our kids know that even as we stumble through days, we still can feel really good about ourselves and know that every day we have the power to improve and still lead. So I would invite each of us to lean in as we do this work today. Value your voice, say what you think matters, know that it does matter because you think it does. And that's good enough here. Oh, is someone trying to?
I think it's our forensics people.
All right, before we get there, public comments. Anyone at this time is welcome to speak on a non-agenda item. Anyone online?
Nothing in the chat.
Okay, moving on then to agenda item 3A, School Spotlight Forensics Program. Thank you all for coming. Come in. Just push your way in. Keep going, go this way. Move that way. Everyone. Camera's there. Go over that way. Go this way.
And I don't know.
So just keep quiet. Keep quiet.
They really didn't, but it's fun.
All right, for this evening's spotlight, we are featuring the Glen Hills Forensic Team, which is led by Miss Young, Miss Heel, and Miss Hawks has also helped support. And so I wanted them to have an opportunity to spotlight some of the work that they've done over the forensic season, their accomplishments, and more importantly, the amount of learning that they've done, and really showcase that. So at this time, I would like to turn things over to the forensics team, and I'm guessing that your leader, Ms. Young, is telling you to go ahead and take the lead on this, correct? Okay, so you got it then.
Hello, my name is David Smanskyer. I'm in 8th grade and my category was Farrago.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Here's the mic.
That was a
right
bad
here.
microphone.
That's right here.
My category was Farrago and I was a co-captain of the forensics team.
Hello, my name is Milena Meinhardt. I'm in 8th grade, and my category is poetry, and I'm a co-captain with David. Hi, my name is Mayela Avalos. I am in 8th grade, and I also did poetry. Hi, my name is Victoria Lamari. Me and Madison are in 6th grade, and we're in group interpretation.
Hi, my name is McKenna McKay, and I'm in 4th grade, and I'm also a substitute in group interpretation.
Hi, my name is Avery. I'm in 6th grade, and I did special events.
Hello, my name is Alexander Avery.
I'm Ruby Grun.
We're both 8th graders who did group acting. Hi, my name is Nora Getz. I am in 8th grade, and I did group acting, different group.
Next we have Ruby and Myella to explain what forensics is and the benefits of it.
Forensics is essentially competitive speaking. There are many categories that all involve going up and speaking in front of an audience of peers and judges. Some of the benefits from forensics include public speaking skills, communication skills, along with problem solving skills.
Next we have Avery to talk about our key achievements this year.
We have achieved many things this season. This year, our team took home 3 trophies during the season. 2 second-place trophies and 2 third-place trophies, and also a 5th-place trophy at the Forensic State Tournament. And we also have a total of 29 individual medals brought home this year.
And then next we have Madison to give an impact statement.
Forensics helped us be more comfortable with speaking in front of big crowds, and it helped me be more open to joining other clubs. And it also helped some of my teammates with getting out of their comfort zone and expressing their feelings through their piece. I hope you consider recommending others that are my age to join.
Next up we have some excerpts of some different performances we had. We have me doing an excerpt of my Farrago presentation. We have Victoria, McKenna, and Madison doing an excerpt of the group interpretation presentation. And we have Avery doing an excerpt from her special events presentation.
Can I ask a question? What is Farrago?
Farrago is it's kind of a combination of acting, poetry, prose. So basically, like it's kind of like the miscellaneous. So you can read sections from books, poetry, you can act, stuff like that.
Cool.
That's so sad. Snow White was just minding her own business. singing to the animals, and then the queen's out here plotting murder? What about the other dwarfs?
I heard that you guys work in a glass coffin. Is that true?
A glass coffin?
Yeah, we did. And one day the prince came and saw her and was like, oh, she's so pretty.
And she's so pretty, that's it?
I can't even deal with this prince situation. He literally just comes right in and gets her after the kiss. What about us girls who just want to find true love?
Yeah, what about us?
We wanna find love too.
OMG, Gisela, chill. It's not the end of the world.
You're right. Magical, continue.
Yeah, so the prince kissed her and boom, she wakes up after a 300-year sleep. Then she and the prince got married and invited all the dwarfs to live with them in the castle. How cool.
It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, there lived a maiden whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child and she was a child. This kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love. I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me.
So, tell me why. I was at my restaurant, fixing up on the cash register because everyone knows that that thing is always breaking down. But I overheard the workers that were fixing up my restaurant, they were on break, talking all kinds of mess about me and my place. Can you believe that? Like, you guys do not understand how upset I was. I was about to tell them off. But then my mom swooped in and said they could go home for the day. Now, that part I could understand because who would want to work early on a Sunday morning? Definitely not me. But the part I couldn't understand was last time I checked, some of the workers had like some legal obligations where they couldn't even stop working for me if they really wanted to, or else they'll go back to jail. So basically, everyone knows that they couldn't just bounce. They needed me way more than I needed them. I could have gotten new workers in the snap of my fingers. Or better yet, I could have been it all by myself.
He doesn't deserve me at all. I'm way better than the prince. I do my own thing. No poison apples, no dramatic rescues, just me being fabulous.
That's the spirit. Who needs a prince when you can be the queen?
Honestly, I'm with Drizella on this one. The whole thing is just weird. Some random prince shows up and kisses an unconscious girl. That is not romantic. That's just suspicious.
Okay. So maybe fairy tales aren't the most logical, but they're supposed to be magical.
Magic or not, if a guy just kisses someone out of nowhere in real life, he'd be in trouble.
Maybe we should write the whole story. Snow wakes up and files a lawsuit instead.
Court is now in session.
But fairy tales are supposed to give us hope, right?
Yeah, I guess they are. Maybe we all need a little happily ever after sometimes.
Yeah, but without the poison part.
Definitely without the poison part.
And you guys, that is not it. And I bet you guys did not know this one. The foreman's daughter, she's getting married to her ex. Yeah, I know, right? And I know you guys didn't know that, but you wanna know who else didn't know that? Her parents. Her parents didn't even know that she was dating someone, let alone engaged. And I was just talking to my best friend Lottie about it the other day. And Lottie said that the foreman's daughter is the biggest little brat ever. And honestly, I don't disagree with her because she is really mean. And my best friend Lottie also said that when she was walking to my house, she saw the foreman's daughter trip a little kid. Can you believe that? Like, not only is she out here tripping kids, but she's getting married to her ex behind her parents' back. I cannot wait to see how that turns out because she is going to be in a lot of trouble when her parents catch a wind of that one.
Now we have Alex and Nora to talk about their personal reflections from forensics.
Hello. As someone who participates in a lot of community theater, forensics has helped me a lot with auditioning. Now, not everyone in their lives will audition for a show. However, they should do something similar, job interviews. Now, not only has theater or forensics helped me with a hobby I really enjoy, but it's also preparing me for a rapidly approaching adult world and a professional setting. It's also helped me with my confidence. I went from not being able to check out at a store to being able to do that on my own and make a few jokes with whoever it is I'm talking to. It's greatly improved my quality of life, and I've been able to land even more roles in my theater experiences, which has also increased my happiness levels. And I greatly appreciate forensics and Ms. Young for hosting it.
I have gained two main things from forensics: a sense of community and better public speaking skills. The sense of community, everyone at those forensics competitions was really nice and respectful. They would always compliment me after doing my piece. Once when we were waiting for awards, all the kids broke out into a 20-minute game of Popsicle, which eventually got pretty stale, but I mean, we were all a little bored, so. The second thing that forensics helped me with was my public speaking skills. If you know me, you know I'm pretty quiet. I don't really want to do any of that. And whenever I would have to do a presentation, it would be a whole shebang. Like, I'm shaking, my face is red, I'm stuttering, but now I can easily do a presentation. So that's why I'm here. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't if I was still scared. So yeah, I greatly appreciate the entire team. I mean, everyone here has worked so hard to be here, and yeah, that's why I appreciate forensics.
Next up, we have Victoria to talk about what skills forensics builds.
Forensics has helped us get better at talking in front of others and sharing our ideas. As the season went on, we learned to use the right words to make our point strong. No more or like every 5 seconds. We practice organizing our thoughts and listening carefully to others because, let's face it, we want to hear what our competition was saying too. We also learned to say our speeches with a lot of feeling and expression, making our words come to life, sometimes even with a little drama. Some of us researched to make the perfect poem or story because who doesn't like a good Google search moment? The team all got better at speaking, not just competitions, but in class too. No more stage fright.
And now we have Eric Meinhardt to give a call to action statement.
Okay. Thank you. Eric Meinhardt. So I'm a dad, I'm a forensics judge, and I'm also a board member at Nicolay. So a lot of these didn't become enough Nicolay. A few things though. In the fall of 2022, I learned that forensics would not be offered as an extracurricular option for students at Glen Hills. I was upset, disappointed, and some of you here tonight heard from me through emails and other conversations. So I want to thank you for listening and taking action to support our students' voices and choices. In 2023-2024, last year, Mrs. Young brought her energy, passion, and expertise to revive the Glen Hills Forensics program, and I am so grateful for her leadership. But I'm here to talk tonight about the most important thing, and that is the kids. Forensics provides students the opportunity to perform in one of 17 group and individual categories. If you're more interested in what those categories are, you can go to wisconsinmlfa.org and you can read about all the different categories. So some of the categories you saw here tonight, but they also include storytelling, acting, and non-original oratory. Students choose a category and spend the season performing and receiving feedback and refining their piece. As you've already heard here tonight, along the way, they develop many skills that will serve them well in their future academic and career choices. They receive specific, targeted feedback in 10 key areas of their performance. They build confidence and experience in one of the most difficult tests any of us will ever face, which is public speaking. They learn performance and audience etiquette, respect, and professionalism. They're exposed to multiple performances in the same and different categories at every single meet. That's a personal favorite of mine because while judging these meets, I've found my next best reads multiple times. That always keeps my book list ready. So, and finally, and most importantly, They're pushed to shed self-consciousness and self-doubt that can be so overwhelming in middle school. They're pushed to break out of their comfort zone, find their voice, and share it with others in a positive and encouraging environment, as opposed to TikTok. So don't take my word for it. I encourage each of you to see for yourself. You'll make Miss Young's day if you sign up to judge a meet or two next year. And it will make your day too, trust me on that. And the food is really good. I can give you some pointers on which meats has great food. Which food is really good.
You just need to tell us, we'll show up.
Right. So in closing, I want to thank you for your continued support with Glen Hill's Forensics program. I could think of no better opportunity to prepare our kids for the diverse social, academic, and career landscape they will soon be entering. Thank you for helping to amplify our students' voices.
Now we have a Q&A section, so if anybody, so now me and Melina will open the floor to any questions that you may have.
All right, we'll start down at this end with Katie. Any questions for your
I'm
child?
very immersed in this culture all last 2 months, so I'll let you guys know.
Chris, how do you get your material? I heard a little bit about Google search, but are there like best ways to do it? You all came up with such great things, yeah.
Miss Young also keeps a bunch of different materials you can use. If you don't wanna, and if you don't wanna use those materials, you can also go on and search online. But she does have lots of materials to help you find what you wanna do.
Thanks.
And some of the pieces, I know I'm not supposed to speak. Ms. Thompson says.
Who says?
Me. Some of the pieces, for example, group interpretation and Avery's part, as well as the other groups, they have to write it themselves. That part is challenging because they have a short amount of time. I think we start in November, once a week, just working towards it. And I know people who do adapt pieces, they make it their own. But the sixth graders, they all wrote their pieces. Amazing. And that's one of the requirements.
Can I answer one other question? I'm noticing how you're encouraging each other, those the subtle little high fives and things like that. How did that happen?
I think we really bonded with each other because some of us were like terrified through like all the competitions. Like, I don't know if we can do it. And you're like, it's gonna be okay. You can make it through. I believe in you. So we all just have like appreciation for all the hard work we've done, I think.
And I can add that it's just kind of the culture of the local forensics community. Like they come out of these things after competing with the kids, and all of the kids are like, "Oh my God, you were so good!" Like it's a very, very positive thing.
So I have to give credit to the captains this year. They take the lead on the meetings. David brought in and did some exercises, waist exercises. Melina, she took care of the paperwork. So they pretty much did a lot of the things which made our jobs much easier. So I give credit to the co-captains. They took the position seriously as if though they were being paid.
So for those of you who are going to continue in forensics either at the middle school level or potentially the high school level, if Nicolay has a forensics program.
They do.
Do you plan to continue with the same area, or have you discovered other areas that you're kind of interested in exploring?
I know, like I said before, I was in poetry this year, but some of my friends did group acting, and I know next year I really want to do group acting or solo acting because I found interest in that. You know, so like you get like exposed to all these things and like you can do whatever you want throughout all your years. You don't have to stick with the same thing the whole time. To add on to that, at competitions, sometimes you get put in a room with a different category, so you can see what other categories are like, and you can decide whether or not you want to do either other categories next year.
And I'll say that I'm still waiting to decide because I know in high school forensics, completely different set of categories. So like if that's either something new I want to do, or if I want to continue, for the past 2 years I've done more of like the poetry type ones I did. And I might want to stick with that, or I might want to do something more unscripted.
That's awesome.
No, I just am so impressed. That's all. I'm just like, I'm so happy you guys are here. It's made my night, and I appreciate you guys coming and sharing this with us and sign me up to judge or support next year. I guess I'm curious, how much time, what is the time commitment like? Like, how often are you like meeting, practicing, how many competitions? Like, gotta be a lot, right? Or
Alright, so I was in group acting with Ruby. So that one it's a little bit difficult with group ones, right? Because you can only do half of your piece. So we really made sure to focus when we had our after school time together. We also made arrangements to meet each other on the weekends, to call. We went over our script together. We adapted ours from an already existing text, so it was a bit different. So we had to time it and go through what it was. In the end, I'd say every day, at least for me, I know I put in at least 30 minutes of work. And I know you have a lot of stories for how much you practiced. Up and down the stairs. And
Oh
learning
yeah,
lines.
I would walk around the house, saying my lines, and then also Alex and I during class, like multiple times, we'd be like, do you want to know lines? And we just like go through the entire script.
A lot of it is the memorization.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, it shows you guys put in a lot of hard work, clearly. It means a lot, so thanks for coming.
But I think you can elaborate on the weekends. The season begins.
So season begins usually somewhere in the last weekend of January.
Okay.
And meets can usually range to about 5-ish hours, I would say. Cause depending on meet, all meets have like a 2 rounds, like award ceremony. But some meets have a third power round where the top 30% gets into, so those meets are longer. And then it's meets all over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday meets. And Miss Young tries to get kids to go to at least 6 before state, making state 7. Not all kids are able to do that. The person this year is only able to make it to 5 before state. But Miss Young encourages everybody their best to get to a lot of meets, also so you can qualify for state.
Cool. Oh, I'm just so impressed. I don't have much to add. Every excerpt I saw, I wanted to see the whole thing. So, and you 3 slay me, knock me over with a feather. I will help you sue the principal. Yes, finally, how many times have I talked about that? I love it. But, I love it. And I don't know if you ever do like the equivalent of dress rehearsals. Do you ever like in meetings, like do your entire performances for each other? So if there were.
They have a showcase right there.
Did we have a showcase that I missed?
Yeah, the showcase
It
is right
was
before
counter
state.
program
against the meeting.
It's just something that I missed, yeah, cause I would love to, even if I can't get to a meet, I just have to get myself to wherever you guys are to watch this. Your energy, your attitudes, your commitment, it's just wonderful. It's everything that's amazing about each of you. So thank you for coming here and sharing that energy with us.
And I want to say one last thing. Miss Hobbs joined us this year. She was the middle school state champion for impromptu speaking. And she has not said a word tonight. But she's got an attitude.
Yeah, all these students are so wonderful. It's been so great getting to be part of the team this year. I've really enjoyed it, and just the students have really already said everything there is to say. So thank you for allowing me to be part of this wonderful team, and I look forward to it continuing.
Shout out to Mr. Meinhardt for advocating.
For other judges.
I'll see 2 of you on Saturday morning. Solo and Ensemble Festival, they also, he's gonna sing, you're gonna play the trumpet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, very
Several
cool.
of them, several in this room and not in this room, also the day of state, had to rush through state and then get to solo ensemble in Mecklenburg. State in Brookfield solo ensemble.
It's hard to be so
It's an hour
talented.
between.
So much talent.
Such small bodies.
Busy lives.
Thank you.
Final one too. I was very proud. I was like, they're going there. I knew you were. They're going there.
And that was an original piece you all wrote.
That was amazing.
Awesome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
The temperature will go down by 50.
Not for me.
That is such a moment of uplift.
Thanks for arranging that.
Yeah, like, even if you guys go judge, if you just wanna go hang out. I would there's so fun, and you can like catch the kids after they're coming out, so if they have like, not great, you know, you can cheer them up a little bit, and if they, and you can just like vibe off their energy, so they have a great performance.
I've had a misapprehension of what forensics is. I've always associated the word with mock trials and debate, but it's very performative, not.
It's very diverse.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
do forensics, cause they're adults on forensics.
Yeah, now I'm like,
It's like improv categories.
Oh, yeah, that's true, that's true.
how come my school didn't have forensics in 1977?
And almost every meeting has a TJ, I know we had forensics, but I don't think we had DJs.
DJing is a category?
No, just
Oh.
between the
Yeah,
rounds.
he said
Because
it's
of
okay.
the law and state.
Just for fun and downtime.
Oh, okay, yeah,
It's like chess beats, but
got it.
Oh.
Oh. All right.
You got your poetry performance in tonight.
Edgar Allan Poe.
My Emma said in the poetry category, she's so sick of hearing the raven.
Oh.
I could see that. I could see that.
It's very popular in the middle school set.
And you know what Eric said is true, because I remember when Eric reached out to Anna and included me on the forensics, and I know, Anna, you did a lot of work to make that happen, so thank you. But pre-superintendent. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right,
Tap it.
Yeah.
And then do the red one by board docs.
Thank you. You're welcome.
we remain, I'm not gonna say it out loud, right? Just moving on to the next agenda item, whether or not we're on schedule.
Don't
Stop saying it out loud.
Okay.
All right, next on the agenda, Act 20 policy, I don't even remember the policy number,
5411.
5411.
All right, so this policy is coming forward, as a role as a board, it would be to adopt the policy, and you'll be examining policy 5144 to be an adoption for alignment with Act 20. So in 2023, Wisconsin enacted Act 20 to strengthen literacy efforts, and as part of the law, school districts must implement a policy for promoting students from 3rd to 4th grade. And that's following the model that's provided by the Department of Public Instruction. So Neola worked on this policy with legal guidance and has developed the policy in compliance with Act 20, which is around retention between 3rd and 4th grade based on students' progress or lack thereof in their reading. So any questions around policy? I know that there were a few edits that were recommended.
What happened with the edits? Are we being asked to accept them tonight, or were they, or what?
We have not adopted this policy yet.
No, you've
Right,
not
so-
adopted.
right,
Yeah.
I guess the question is, would we be adapting it as
With
recommended to
the-
be edited, right?
That's what I'm saying, with,
Yeah.
with the suggested edits, or are we?
So what I'm looking at is in the draft. Well, I think it depends on what we want to do as a board, right?
Okay.
Whether there's a motion.
So prior to a motion, though, should we get clear on that, or?
Looking in the agenda, hold on. I have too many windows open. So the policy is attached to the agenda in administrative content, right? And this is the version that Anna is proposing we adopt, right?
It is, and then I believe there was some additional wordsmithing that you proposed that I shared with the board. And it did not, based on what was there, change any meaning, it was just really clarifying and cleaning up some of the language that was in there, so I think those would be fair edits that would be.
So are those
accepted by Neola.
contained in here now? or-
No, they are not.
Okay. So if you open the policy, which is attached in board docs.
So if you want, do you want me to go over the edits that were there?
Well,
Yes,
Okay.
is that okay? Or does,
I was gonna say it doesn't go into effect until 2027, right? We don't have to implement it until.
We have to adopt a policy.
Adopt it.
We have to have a policy on our books, but the policy itself would not be implemented until 2027, but we do need to have a policy by July 1.
Okay.
Yeah. So some of the changes there is where it says promotion of third grade students with reading plans, evaluation factor B, response or progress to reading instruction. The recommendation was that or progress be deleted, because it should just read progress in response to or response to progress as a result of, right?
Okay.
So those are just minor changes,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
both reflect the same indication and meaning.
Okay.
One of the other areas that was looked at is refers to retention to third grade. And the suggestion was that it would be retention in third grade, right?
Okay.
Right, so that was one of the other ones. The other one was D and E for promotion requirements. Previously retained in grades K5, grades 1, 2, and or 3 is the way that it's written right now.
Yeah.
Retained in grades K5, 1, 2, or 3. Right, or retained in K5 or grades 1, 2, or 3, right? Would be the recommendations. So previously retained, I think it's removing the previously, that previously piece. K5 grades 1, 2, or 3 would indicate that they were in all, like were retained in all of those grades because the way that it's written, the commas are placed, I think. Yeah, so those were the only like minor edits that
those
were
are minor edits.
So we can make a motion with the recommended edits then.
all right,
Can I do one?
would you like to?
Sure. Okay, I move to approve and to adopt policy 5411 as discussed with the recommended edits.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? We'll start with Chris. Garn?
No.
Danielle?
No.
One quick question as I'm looking at this. I see that a couple of the proposed factors under whether to promote or retain, a couple of them are crossed out.
Mhm.
Why the student hasn't completed their personal reading plan, and then F. And I just forgot to ask this before, what's the reason for not including those?
Looking at item C in that area, why the student has not completed their personal reading plan, would it be, to me, be incorporated already in your discussion of progress? So it seems redundant, that's
Right.
why I asked for that part to be struck in my recommendation. And then F is those factors or conditions considered elsewhere in district policy or administrative guidelines pertaining to student promotion and retention.
Same.
It's the same, it's redundant, right?
Yep,
Because
got
this plan is in conjunction with that, so you wouldn't be looking at two different policies.
Yep.
Right,
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, that totally makes sense to me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Katie? And, okay, any other comments or questions, visitors? Anyone online? Concerned about Act 20? Policy 5411.
That's a different question, Carla.
All right, the pending motion is the motion to adopt policy 5411 as edited. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We have adopted policy 5411. Very good. So now we are one step closer to in compliance with Act 20. All right, moving on to item 5A, which is a recommendation to go into closed session.
That was a mouthful.
Is there a motion? Is there a one breath motion that can be made? Your posture, filling the lungs with your diaphragm.
I move to recess into closed session for section 19.851F, considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personnel problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons except where Part B applies, which if discussed in public would likely have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data or involved in such problems or investigations. Specifically, to discuss recommendations, including personnel recommendations contained within the technology cybersecurity audit results.
Is there a second? All right, roll call. Katie Avalos.
Aye.
Chris Robinson.
Aye.
Karen Cronwell.
Aye.
Daniel Bailey.
Aye.
Carla Pennington Cross votes aye. We are officially in closed session. And should we move to your All right, we are back in open session. There is no action to be taken coming out of the closed session. Moving on to item 5C, recommended approval of the CISA 1 agreement.
All right, so each school year, we enter into agreement with our CISA 1 as part of our board, as part of our work. The CISA 1 agreement really helps support us in terms of our membership with them and an educational audiologist. We also utilize them for professional development with our staff as well. So this is the initial agreement, which requires board approval for us to continue with that service.
And we do this every year, right? The standard CISA agreement? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the CISA 1 agreement.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, this is the motion to approve the CISA 1 agreement attached on the board docs, agreement for services. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 5D, facility rental fees, which is a discussion item.
Yes. So our school board policy indicates that the board is authorized to lease our school sites and buildings and equipment if needed for a reasonable rental fee. That rental fee is to be consistent with comparables in our area. In order to develop the rental fees, we took the opportunity to look at Whitefish Bay, Fox Point Bayside, Shorewood, Mapledale, Indian Hill, and Nicolay. As a way to start to begin a structure of looking at fees for our school district in terms of rental fees. So we have a starting point, which I want to bring forward for board deliberation and discussion, and then bring back for approval after getting feedback from the board during our next meeting. So the current proposal or draft would be that we would be looking at different categories of community-based and school use. So thinking about those groups that directly benefit our students and how they should continue to enjoy significant discounts for school-related use. So they're in group A. Group B, in terms of resident groups, would be categorized as I'm an individual resident who wants to rent for a birthday party or for a family event or something like that. So a resident of Glendale who maybe is affiliated with our school but isn't a direct organization that works with our school community. Group C is grayed out right now for non-resident or external groups. We occasionally get requests for external groups to come in and utilize our space. This is where we felt like potentially if we want to continue to open that up to non-resident users or external groups, that we would want to have the full rate of pay as they're outside the community. So the greater thinking around having rental fees is really ensuring that as we utilize the building outside of school and educational purposes, that we're ensuring that the staffing and maintenance needs that are part of that wear and tear are being accounted for and that they're offset by our ability to do this. So we want to be in the community and being able to support the use of our building, but also do that in a way that is responsible to taxpayer dollars. So that's sort of the initial thinking around this and the rates that are in there. To be in alignment with our partnering areas and to also honor our relationships within the community. So looking for board feedback, questions, thinking.
Okay, let's go around the table. It's it's Karen's turn to go first.
So, I think multiple of us had reached out about like just clarification with the groups. And I think for group A, it sounds as though what you're really saying is school-based community, right? We're talking about our school community in group A, where it be people or groups associated directly with our students. Is that correct?
Yes, so currently, for example, our building is used by Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Nicolay Rec departments, and all of those opportunities directly impact families that live within Glendale and attend our schools.
Yeah, so what kind of monies do we recoup from for the Nicolay Rec department?
Right now, they're utilizing our buildings to run the rec programming
and they get money for their rec programming and we don't get any funds for it?
Don't they pay for some portion of our pool maintenance when they use?
No, there's no agreement.
Okay.
I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah.
I have not seen it
Yeah,
since I've
so-
been here.
I'm pretty sure they used to because we keep hearing people say, oh, we used to pay for this. And I know the Girl Scouts unit said we used to pay to rent and then that just went away.
Right, so I mean, looking at the current, looking at our current financial picture and piecing all of those things together, I do not currently see that.
Yeah.
Where I see fees being charged for the rental of our facilities would be individual birthday parties that are held with a resident community folks, which is off of an old fee schedule that was I think online for us.
Right.
And then, the other groups, the Bavarian Soccer Club rents our fields from us. And so there's some rental, groups that have come in through that. I think we've had a couple other, outside groups that have rented this year. So typically, most of the outside of school day use is with our own students and our own clubs.
Right.
But outside of that, it would really be Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and Nicolay Rec. And so as of right now, looking at our current books and where we've accrued rental fees, we're only seeing them come in from Bavarian and those birthday parties.
Is Bavarian falling into group B then, or would they be considered group C?
I think they would be considered group C, but then again, like, this is where that delineation, because we have several students who participate on that, but they also paid to participate, right? Yeah, so I would see them as a group C in that area.
They make a lot of money.
Yeah, it ain't cheap.
So the first thing, and I mean, clearly, I have been out of this for quite a while. I mean, my daughter's almost 23, but when our Girl Scout troop did not pay for facilities, but it sounds like at some point they started to.
I bet the Scouts don't.
Yeah, I would have to go back into records and see whether or not that is the case. There's a couple things to think about, like we have for them to hold a Girl Scout or Boy Scout meeting in our schools after school hours when we have custodians present in the building is an additional custodian cost. So really, when you're looking at that, if they were in the cafeteria for their meetings, we would be looking at having that like a $20 cost, right? Based on that, so I don't, it really is the board's decision around thinking about how you want to do that. I think the cautionary piece that I have is if we're going to waive fees for someone, then we need to be able to document that we've waived fees so we can pay for that custodial cost if needed out of Fund 80. Because that's our community fund then, rather than paying it out of Fund 10, which is our general school fund.
So right,
Yep.
got it.
So in trying to have fiscal stewardship, like I wanna make sure we've levied money in a referendum to help pay for educational costs in this building. And we serve our community and we wanna be good stewards in our community, but I also wanna be responsible with taxpayer dollars too, in terms of what it's used for.
Yeah, no, and I understand. I guess my initial inclination, and I have to admit I'm still sitting there, is for organizations that are directly related to majority our students, who are not overseen by other agencies. So I'm excluding, for instance, the rec department or Bavarian. So like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts.
PTO foundation.
Right, those things, they're run directly, largely to support our district and our students. Even if, for instance, Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts would host other people within their troops, it's generally majority our kids. And I guess I would be inclined to waive those fees and somehow figure out language that would reflect the reason for that. And, but that would be just my personal position at this point. If there's a history I'm unaware of where fees are being paid, I'm completely open to that conversation, but.
I don't think you're alone.
Okay, I feel like for something that's like, those kinds of activities are just as key to our kids' well-being as the things that are teacher directed or sponsored by employees who are willing to work after hours, so.
Yeah, but I do like what I'm hearing about, like, the fee is still assessed, but we waive it so that we can take it out of Fund 80 instead of general fund.
Yeah.
That I think is
Yeah,
great.
just having a documentation. Now, I do not believe I feel the same way for Nicolay Rec, and I certainly don't believe the same way. I think I'm curious about that whole relationship with Nicolay Rec, because I feel as though it may have developed into something where they just presumptively have access, and that should not be the case. If the pool's being used, then, and they're reaping benefit from it, there should be some way that we're recouping some cost of that.
Yeah, one of the examples you shared included like, if you charge for the activity, the school, was it Whitefish Bay? We get a percentage.
Yeah.
Like, so there is a model that one local school is using around that. It seems more complicated though.
Yeah,
Seems
it's,
awfully
I think
complicated.
I think the component that's complicated about it is most school districts run their own rec departments because they're a K-12 district. And I think at one point in time, my understanding serves me correctly, Glendale ran its own rec department, Nicolay ran its own rec department. Nicolay now runs a rec department that services all of our district communities, right? So our students and families participate heavily in those activities. So I think the delineation of fee charging and looking at those agreements would be something that we would really, I think as a board, needs to come under some pretty good consideration around, they also are directly benefiting our students, right? And there is a fee associated with it, but I don't think that the Nicolay Rec Department is necessarily charging fees to make money. It's not a money-making model, right? It should be a model that helps them expand their programming into service, right? And so those are some of the components, just like Girl Scouts too, is also money. I mean, there's money generation and dues that are collected and cookie sales and things like that, but those are put back into the programming that they do, right?
And money is donated into our school councils.
100%.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so.
And I think just to be clear, so Nicolay, I guess my position is if Nicolay Rec is utilizing, like, who uses the pool the most? It's Nicolay Rec, I think, right? And it's so if our pool and our locker rooms and we used to sit on those bleachers and watch our kids through the windows, like if all those things are being utilized, and so that's wear and tear on our facilities, I just would want to ensure that that's somehow fiscally addressed.
Yeah, because if they're getting a lot of kids out of our partner K-8 districts who are then using our pool free, you know what I mean, that we're providing all the maintenance costs of that, and the entire community is benefiting from it, and we're getting
even if it's really largely
offset.
Glendale kids, it's, it's still wear and tear, and if we were running our own program, there would be some offset financial to that. And that's the only thing, but that's where I stood on this. We do need to be assessing fees, and we need to be, and hopefully we can start drawing some more business if it makes sense to do that as a site or as an attractive opportunity.
Danielle?
Yeah, okay, so I really like, these would be my suggestions. I really like a lot of what Whitefish Bay has done in terms of their groupings. They have a clear delineation for Group A and Group B. These are official school village activities or organizations directly or exclusively affiliated with the school. So that's PTO, that's foundation. I actually also like what they do with Group C. Local organizations where 51% of memberships residents, right? So I would just encourage us to look at sort of modeling that. I think it's more specific and it serves the needs of what you're talking about. I think I also like what they're doing for their fee structure when people are charging admission. So the local groups, it's less, instead of like 10% for and then 10% for non-resident. I also would suggest stealing language from Shorewood and Whitefish Bay around the custodial charges. They basically give themselves flexibility to charge what they need and just say that they're gonna give that in advance, but that way you could kind of, overall high level, like all of this should be cost neutral. As much as we can be, right? Like that's like, I don't think we're gonna make a lot of money renting our facilities, I don't know, right? So I'm like, so I think that maybe is more the goal. And to Karin's point then, I'm thinking in terms of Nicolay Rec, because it does seem to be a more unique relationship, I wonder if that is just something we consider outside of this in terms of like, is there a separate agreement? Because they do Camp at the Hills, they utilize our pool, they do charge fees. And I don't know what their and again, we don't wanna make a profit off of them because they make a profit, but we don't want to stand to lose money, right? So I would consider like, maybe is there just a separate thing and they exist outside of this agreement? And then my last thing is Good Hope is not on here at all. And so I guess I was just wondering, like on the old facilities request form, it does list Good Hope as an option. And we do have properties over there, right? Or like, I don't know, are there fields, tennis courts? So like, I don't know if that's missed revenue, but then that begs
the outdoor
spaces, right?
like, I don't know if they're utilized at all.
They used to do jazzercise when the era was.
So it, but it begs the
Guys used to rent from us over there.
But it begs the question of like, who's managing these requests and like how much
Oh.
energy are we, right? So then,
Exactly.
so maybe you ignore it and that is just a free public space, I don't know, but I just would be curious to understand how you, when you bring this back, how you think about the Good Hope space.
That's a good point. Right now, just to bring clarity around this, we've been using a program called School Dude, which is a subscription service.
Okay.
It is a little bit challenging for both front end users requesting space as well as back end users. And there are a lot of functionality and I'm sure a lot of it has to do with training, but it is a paid service. We have moved, our contract is coming up with them soon, so we're just gonna let that lapse. And we've moved to, Ed Budnick, our accountant, has created a facility rental agreement.
Is that what's on there now? The
Yeah.
Google form?
Yep, it's a
Okay.
Google form and then
Okay.
it asks people for all that information and then our head custodians work on that coordination and we keep a centralized event calendar around that, so we've put some processes in place around that now.
Okay, that's cool.
In addition to that, I know Michelle's been working at like one-time insurance purchases too, just to make sure that if somebody coming in to rent our space, if they cannot provide their own insurance, for example, like a birthday party, they would be able to purchase insurance for their event for that day, right?
Sure, I see
Yeah.
that, okay.
So
That's
just making
great.
sure that we're kind of like removing those pieces and getting everything into alignment and having a clear process around that. And Adam monitors that and gets all notifications as well as the head custodians. And then Diana has a central calendar that she's a part of and I'm a part of so that we can see how that's being utilized.
Okay, does the senior citizen center that is in this building, are they part of this at all? Like, I don't know what our situation is with them in terms of, do they pay for that space? Do they rent it? Do they do it? I don't know.
I would have to do some historical digging. My understanding is that they funded the elevator in the front lobby and that was part of the agreement initially to have that
So
space.
do we have like a contract with them? Are we talking like oral agreement?
I have no idea and I would have to dig.
So then I guess my question would be, when you bring this back, are they gonna fall under this or are they gonna fall under some other agreement?
Do they get a waiver?
Exactly, some other whatever agreement, but it should be in writing.
Yeah.
Put it in writing.
Yeah,
please.
gotcha. Okay,
That's all.
That's a great point. Thank you, Daniel.
Okay, that's it.
All right, so, yeah, everyone, you two have already said most of what I had on my list. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, I think about exemptions or waivers for the Scouts, PTO Foundation. I'm interested to hear about the Seniors Club, because I wondered about that as well.
Okay.
I'm curious how you enforce rental usage of outdoor athletic spaces. You know,
Well, that's-
when people can just
Yeah.
walk
Show
on
up.
and show up, but I guess if organizations want to be insured they have the space and can kick
Well-
other people off, they would have to
Just so,
rent it.
I mean, for clarity, like the T-ball and baseball, the youth baseball sports, they rent our fields, they hold their games there. So
Right.
like they are utilizing those spaces in a really way we're paying to keep those spaces
Yeah.
usable too,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
just, there is some, the Bavarian sets up their lights, they hold practice at the same spot every day on our fields,
Right, right.
So they're, yes.
No, I'm just,
Yeah.
that was my
Yeah.
thought, like,
Yeah.
what if I just, but I
think there's
answered my
different-
own question,
yeah, I mean,
which
there's-
is, if I show up and I'm like, my friends and I are playing a game, the Bavarian can say, I rented this, get off.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I have,
But what I envision are the tennis courts over off of Good Hope,
That's what I
where
wondered.
I see people playing all the time. And of course, that's just a community access thing, and I think you can't control that,
yeah, you
right?
can.
So the only thing
Both
would
same
be,
here too, yeah.
yeah, the only thing would be, again, if you were to formally reserve it or
Yeah.
develop a club where they had consistent
Sign
access
for
and then somebody
donations
says.
up. Like,
Yeah.
like
Like a
we're
QR
offering, like,
code.
I'm just saying, like, this is a community space offered to you by the Glendale-River Hill School District. Wanna support it?
You don't like the Nets?
Yeah.
So I think the last thing I wanna say is that, to me, this is an example of just all the extra work you guys are
Yeah.
doing in the cleanup story, and I know it's a time consumer, and as we dream forward, I think this kind of work is gonna get easier as our meeting goes late again, but each month as we get gather more of these threads, I think the work is gonna get easier going forward. And I just appreciate you all finding these things and bringing them to our attention, so.
Well, this is all efficiency too, like you do the work up front and then it's real easy after that.
Katie, anything else?
That's my comment.
And Chris.
I agree with, I think, everything that has been said. I was just playing around with some different criteria for waivers and, you know, one was, you know, exists for the primary purpose of benefiting our students, maybe even a percentage of the class or whatever would be Glendale-River students. Something that builds the developmental assets of our students. Maybe we don't do a waiver if they're charging admission fees for the particular event for which the waiver is being sought. And then if there are dues or membership classes or whatever, I was thinking maybe if they have practices for allowing sliding fees and waivers for students to participate, which would sort of encourage, you know, equity and participation of students. I also thought if things are waived, that there might be times where, okay, the rental fee is waived, but gosh, you're wanting to come on a time where nobody would normally be here. We do have to pay someone, so we do have to charge you for that if you do it here. Now, if you do it here, we don't have to charge you.
So
But
having
that
like a
is-
calendar set so that certain
Yeah.
days on the calendar.
Yeah, I
are
can't remember if I
higher
saw it in one of the
costs.
provided ones or some other
Oh,
research I
maybe.
did, but somebody did,
Like a
like if you do
special
a Sunday
custodian fee?
event,
Yeah.
it's gonna cost you more because
Right,
you
exactly,
have to, whatever, yeah.
Outside of
But
normal custodial hours.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I
yeah,
think if you just don't set that custodial rate and you say, well, I mean, maybe that puts more work on you because you have to figure it out every time. So
Yeah.
maybe that's not the best idea, but
Well,
if
or
you don't
be
set it,
able-
you can,
Be able to tell people.
right, like a
Like,
weekend's gonna be
Yeah,
more.
and it could always be a may instead of a must or whatever.
Right.
Always full of good ideas. Okay, I don't know if that helps you, Anna, but
Yeah,
I
it
think we've vented our spleens to you. And then you'll come back with a wise recommendation that we'll vote on.
Yep.
All right. Anything else on rental fees or these? Moving on to item 5E, lunch fees. Again, just a discussion item, bringing it to our attention.
Last year, the district, I don't believe we increased fees at all for food service. Our rates are expected to go up 3% with our lunch contract that we have with Aramark, and that is several districts combined that bid that out, and that was Aramark, just for your information. So in looking at fees for next year, the DPI has a paid lunch equity tool that needs to be completed, and based on that, if you are not charging, if you're using, let's say it this way, if you're using federal free and reduced reimbursements to pay for other students' meals that don't qualify for that, or adult meals, then you need to increase your lunch prices. So we're expected to not have a fund, or have a very limited fund balance in Fund 50 at the end of the year. So in order with, you know, we were expected to be using probably $10,000 this year of fund balance to cover the lunches that we were serving. So these prices are, and back to the paid lunch equity tool, if we're not doing that, the maximum they would make you increase your rates would be 5 to 10 cents. So we're just projecting a 10-cent increase so that we're not burdening families too much, with knowing that we do need to increase our fees. So student lunches this year, full price are $3.25. We're proposing $3.35 next year, 10-cent increase. Student lunch reduced, currently, I haven't heard of any changes in the federal lunch reimbursement. So the reduced charge for lunches is 40 cents. That's federally mandated. We're not changing that. Student breakfast, currently full price are $2. proposing a 10-cent increase to 2.10. Student breakfast reduced, those would stay the same at 30 cents. And then adult lunches, $4.75, bringing those up to $4.85, and adult breakfast $2.75, and bringing those up to $2.85, which those, there's no reimbursement, no federal or state reimbursement. And those are above what we're paying. They're right about or above what we would be paying Aramark for those, so we don't want to subsidize those at all. So the recommendation is to approve the 10-cent increases in full meal prices for the 25-26 year.
But not tonight.
Oh,
Are we not doing?
Just
We're not
to
doing
finish.
it. Okay. Danielle, any feedback or questions?
No, just, well, no.
So what I hear you saying is last year, the fees did not cover the costs.
That's correct,
So
so we
we-
did have a fund balance.
Right.
Of this current year.
Okay,
The
Okay.
fees are not projected to cover the costs this current year,
all right.
but we have a fund balance that can be used for that.
I see. All right. So the hope is that this change will allow it to meet cost
Right.
for a sort of a net
And if we need to
neutral outcome.
subsidize part of it, so that we don't burden the families, that is
Got it.
part of this.
Got it. Okay, Katie?
No,
Chris?
makes sense.
No, this makes perfect sense. My question would be, what happens if we lose federal funding?
Do we have to assume the cost of that?
Yeah, and
They're great.
I don't have it in front of me, but I believe our federal, I think I gave that to you a month or so ago. Our federal funds are probably roughly 100,000 or more in Fund 50.
Although the DPI, when I went to the talking session with Glenn Moore and other state representatives, they did speak to the fact that the state representatives are aware of the fact that they might have to move to make adjustments. And so they're not necessarily, or at least the people who are there, are not expecting school districts to magically make up potential losses with federal funds.
I think it's more or less the letter they sent out like a month and a half ago or whatever, said to, at least for this school year, the funding gets pulled, they're gonna try to floor this.
But that's one of those issues in this advocacy cycle. Is the state gonna map and plan ahead in its biennial budget for that contingency?
Right. And their answers were that they're trying.
Right.
So,
Right.
I guess the only thing I would, and I might just be confused, is 10 cents the limit and is it sufficient? So we're raising it as much as we possibly can and it is not quite meeting the
10
expense?
cents is what you would be required, the maximum you'd be required
Okay.
to increase.
And does 10 cents meet our need to cover the increased costs?
It would meet some of it. Depending on, yeah,
I would be interested to know what we would need to meet it.
okay.
Just, just in this scenario of.
What's the break even number?
Yes,
In other
I'll bring
words,
it to you.
Yes, thank you.
and see what the, what would be the break even number where
Right.
we're not having to pull money
Yeah.
from outside fees?
I do have one question, but you don't have to answer it now, but I'm curious where we're at with our contract with Aramark. Like what length of term, what's our term? When are we able to go out to bid
I
again?
can answer that. I don't know what year we went with Aramark, but you can renew every year. You have to renew every year.
Yeah.
Your contract. So you actually have an option to go out to bid every year.
And when is that, when in
When
this
would we do
year? Or did
We would need to, there's timelines on that. We might be past that right now.
okay,
But I do know that, I believe what I was told is that only Aramark is the only company that bid last
Right.
time
That is
that the
correct.
districts went out.
and I told that to some food service vendors at the WASB convention,
Okay.
and they were like, that's
that was very strange to them. So to me, it makes me question how.
The process.
Yeah, the process that was implemented before you guys were here.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, they were like, no, because I was like, well, I was told that because we are a certain number of
Yeah, we are.
reduced and they were like, no, you should, that was very strange to them.
They hit the pause button.
Yep, can I follow up on that though, I'm just curious where that, and if we could
We're
talk about it
also-
before.
we
it comes
also-
up again.
buy into that as part of a cooperative, like we do with busing too. So that is also, like, we are entering into our agreement with our mark with Fox Point Bayside, we have Dylan, Nicolay, Nicolay. We're all using all of them, right? So that's also a part of the puzzle too, of cost efficiency and like what that would mean to break away then from that.
Could that just be a future agenda item when it seems appropriate, because it's been something I've been thinking about for a while, so, thank you.
Sweet. Okay, again, just appreciating the clarity on this and the time to think about it. Good, so we will probably at the next meeting be voting on this, yes?
I want to wait till you're finished.
Yes, I'm done.
Okay, can we move back to facility rentals, because there's a comment from Mr. Martin.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, I'm sorry too, because I didn't notice it right away.
Mr. Martin.
He says you could do a $1 per year contract with Nicolay Rec Department and or other organizations with a contract stating that they would be billed for actual costs of maintenance and repairs. Nicolay has something substantially similar with City of Glendale and Meslowski Park.
That's a great idea.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. I like that. Okay, does he have any comments about lunch fees? All right.
I don't see anybody typing, so no.
Are we ready to move to the next item? Student fees, 25-26. Again, information and discussion. And by the way, I would remind board members, today's not your only chance to speak on any of these. If you have follow-up questions or comments, I'm sure Hannah and Michelle are open doors on any of these. All right, student fees.
Student fees, the change this year is the recommended school fee detail, K4 student fee $75. $60 of that is instructional materials fee and $15 is a technology fee. In the past, there was a, sorry, don't have it in front of me, $30 field trip fee. And we're recommending pulling that $30 off of that initial upfront and then just having families be assessed and fees collected throughout the school year based on the actual cost of those field trips that they go on. Not every grade goes on the same number of field trips or at the same cost. So that is the same with K-5 through 8th grade student fees. This year, we're recommending $125 total. That's $100 instructional materials fee and $25 technology fee. The family maximum would be $600 for all student fees. Again, charge for the 25-26 year field trips would be as at the time of the field trip is planned, and then reduced and waived fees. Families eligible for the free and reduced price school meals program may have school fees waived in full and may receive assistance with other fees, including athletic and activity fees. Due to federal regulations, the fee waiver is not automatic. A form is available and that's on the registration too for families to request a waiver of fees.
All right, it's my turn. I don't have any deep thoughts. This seems like reasonable numbers. I feel like they're less than what I used to pay. I used to pay substantially more when my kids were little. This just seems very reasonable. And I actually kind of like the idea of, I go back and forth, but I like the idea of taking out the field trip fee. Because also, sometimes kids don't go on the field trips. I mean, I had a child who rarely went on field trips and I paid the fee and you know, it's fine, but you know what I mean? There's decisions families can make that, so. Thank you again for clarity, for giving this to us with plenty of time to process. Katie?
What she said, it makes a lot of sense, and I also like pulling that field trip fee. Like the seventh graders, as my seventh grader likes to point out, they did one field trip last year and they haven't done any this year. Like, no, but we still paid that. Like, and $30, you know, for some families, that's a lot, so.
Chris?
I wondered about adding after you have athletic/activity/field trip. If we're gonna do that. I do have maybe a little bit of a different perspective on the pulling the field trip out, just because it can, depending on how it's administered, it can be a lot of extra work for teachers. Just tracking down the non-paying parent, and then you've got the family that hasn't paid, and then you don't wanna, what are you gonna do, leave the kid back? Or are you gonna end up covering it? And also, I worry about privacy of the kid, like if you have an unhoused student who's getting their field trip, you know, their field trip paid for free, which I think is, you know, what we do by statute. How do you keep their privacy in a way that is, okay, good.
Yeah. So, the way that we situate this is we, enter a field trip fee, we assess a field trip fee to, for example, a grade level. And it's a variable fee, and the way that we put it out to families, so the teacher isn't handling any money. It goes through infinite payments.
So it's
They
added.
aren't emailing families.
What?
The teacher is emailing.
Yeah, the
to
teacher
pay
is
the fee.
emailing and letting parents know the fee is out there, right? So the teacher has that part, which is really no different than you gotta communicate a field trip. Right?
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
how they do
not,
it for clubs now.
yeah.
Okay.
And then there's a variable fee that's put in there, and what we mean by a variable fee is then we say to families, like, if you're willing to cover the cost of someone else, right?
Okay.
So
I
then
see.
families can give us, they can pay for like 2 kids or 3 kids or whatever, and so.
Okay.
That's how we do that, so at no point in time does the teacher see who's paid and who isn't,
Okay.
that's managed by the person who has the authorized access to
Okay.
free and reduced lunches.
Thank you.
And so no one is seeing that, what they're doing is, you know, if it's like, you know, 3 days before the trip, Kayla is printing off a list right now that just says like, these 4 kids still need to pay, right? But we also could say these 4 kids need to pay still, and we're in a space where we have the cost covered, so like, let's just move on from that, and
Okay.
maybe nobody needs to pay, and we're just making those decisions on the back end, so the teacher is not.
Okay, objection withdrawn, thank you.
Great question, though. It is a great question, yeah. Thank you for that perspective.
I had a similar question, which was how much work does that create? So thank you for being able to answer that question. I think the only thing was, I was a little bit surprised and curious about the fact that I guess I kind of expected middle school technology and instructional materials fees to just be higher for whatever reason. I feel like with the CAD and with, like, there's so many other things available. I was just curious about that potential variable and how that factored into the conversation, or if I'm just wrong in my perception.
Yeah, like, could it possibly be broken out more for the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders who have the one-to-one Chromebooks? Like, should their technology fee potentially be higher?
You know, we could look at what software too, what apps we're paying per student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things to keep in mind too with technology is, you know, there's a certain level of wear and tear that we expect on computers, but when there's excessive wear and tear and repairs that need to be made on computers, we do assess additional fees based on those 2 families. So if you're coming this, you know, with a broken screen for the 2nd time, we're gonna say like, that now becomes a cost that your family will be billed for.
Yeah, I mean, that falls outside of that, so that's separate.
Yeah, it's in the
Right.
studio.
No, more so I was just thinking in terms of, for whatever reason, I was conceptualizing middle school as just being more expensive to run, I think, particularly from the technological perspective. And I would also testify to the fact that I was standing behind a family with 4 kids one year, and they hit $1,000 in school fees, so certainly we have managed to bring that down quite a bit. That is the family that caused us to have the $600 ceiling for food.
Okay.
My turn? Yeah. So this is maybe a question adjacent, in which case just I can follow up offline, but in terms of the fee waiver, the form, you said it's available upon registration. Is it available anywhere else and at any other time other than Where is that?
On our website.
It's on our website?
It should be on our website under the food service component, or there's Kayla's Connect there.
Okay.
There's access, and then there's paper forms that if somebody were to ask for them in the office.
So I think something I just want us to think about or consider at a later time is maybe making that form more prevalent and more generalized, so that so that people may have, or not write themselves off from being accessible or having access to the funds if they think they're not gonna qualify for the food portion of it maybe. Or like, is there a way to make it, it's just something to think about for later. I know it's not really part of this per se. And just making it more like, let's destigmatize it, let's make it out there and say, this is, we want everyone to fill this form out.
Yeah.
I know they do
Yeah.
through registration, they have to, it's
Right,
mandatory.
and part of the reason why we mandate that is that if families for some reason don't know that they qualify and they do, like that does increase our funding as well. And so
Okay.
it's really important that every family fill it out. Like,
And it's not
yeah.
just for, it's not just for fee, for lunches. It's like it's more general like fee waiver.
Yeah, it depends on what level they qualify.
So we identify, okay, yeah.
We only identify through, the marker for receiving funding is gonna be through the free and reduced lunch program, right? So the way that economic need is determined is through that application.
And only if a family qualifies for that do we consider them for the other.
Yes.
Okay, and then just a curiosity in terms of like, I know a year or 2 years back, we had a lot of unpaid fees, right, school fees, so I would just be curious for an update on like, how have our processes changed that, where are we at now, like, where's room for improvement? And then to your point about the field trip fees, I would also be curious, how does that work in terms of like, if I donate for a couple extra kids to go on a field trip, what if like every family does that? So you have this excess, so what happens to the excess money for a particular field trip?
It would go to that grade level to then offset the cost of another field trip.
Okay, maybe that's information that we could
Yeah.
share out, just because I was like, I wanna do it, but I'm like, what if that, I don't know why, like, I was like, what if that, it doesn't actually help a kid go on this field trip, then what does it do?
Yeah,
Like a field trip fund pool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just think, I wasn't clear on that, so that's it, that's all I got.
I think it's a good question, and
That's a great
it's a
question.
point of educational opportunity.
Well, I think people would donate if they're like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna be supporting field trips for kids throughout the year.
It's an interesting idea as a fundraising idea, that you could have a targeted fundraiser through the PTO or foundation to cover field trips.
Well, people
For
go to
the,
them.
for the district, you know what I mean, and see how big a slush fund you can build, so that then you would not have to, but that's like a volunteer.
Yeah, well, linking it back to the earlier forensics, PTO bought our entire forensics team lunch at state, like.
Right.
And they donated snacks for Miss Young to sell to offset, because every forensics meet does have a fee.
Right.
So she was selling snacks, I mean, you probably saw her at every concert and everything, selling snacks to offset those costs.
I mean, so an optional do we have an optional donation button when you register, when you pay fees, like where you could say, I'd like to donate this year to support forensics or particular, or field trips or something, just something to think about in the future, like.
Like, if Nicolay registration has that.
Yeah.
There's a lot that we could do potentially to have like keystone projects, like also people who wanna donate to cover unpaid lunch balances, things like
Yes.
that. So
Right.
those are options that I believe I've talked to with another foundation member about as being ways that we could attract and like have QR codes and accessible
Yeah.
links on our
Yeah.
website for people
Yeah.
to do that. So yeah, that's a great idea.
Get a nice website.
Okay, any further comments, anything from Mr. Martin about student fees? Or anyone else?
on that?
Oh, yes.
Given our recent technology talk, I'm wondering if we need to raise the technology fees a little bit.
Was that part of your consideration when you determined the fees?
No, the only change in fees this year was taking that field trip one off. As far as doing an assessment, I think I would work with, what softwares are we using for those different grade levels, if we were going to look at anything like that.
Yeah, 'cause it's specific to students.
Or refresh budget, perhaps, like if you think about refresh cycles, like building some of that into the technology fees.
You can do rentals and you can, charge for those specific, softwares that they're using.
That's okay.
You don't, if you're charging a fee for a student, it has to directly apply to that student.
Right.
Okay,
You can't
okay.
use to offset other costs,
Right.
right?
Oh,
in the
okay,
organization,
sure.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
So
Yeah, you can't charge students for infrastructure needs.
Right, so
right.
you really want to be clear about if there's an increase in the technology fee, that it is directly linked to what students are using at their fingertips, and our students, when they're assigned their Chromebook, they take it with them from 4th through 8th grade.
Right.
And then they leave with it, and it becomes theirs, so they're not renting it from us,
Oh,
right?
really?
Yeah.
Right, so.
So my kid pays $25 a year to use his Chromebook. And, okay, and
it's
then,
his. And then you have $125 Chromebook at the end of the grade.
At the end of the 8th grade, yeah.
that's interesting.
So you can choose to donate it back, correct?
Yep, and so we are asking
Oh, okay.
families to say, like, if you want to donate it back, then those become loaners for us when kids get their Chromebooks.
It is a similar practice in my.
Oh, cool.
And the $25 is for the insurance.
Ah.
On the Chromebook, that's basically what that
Oh.
$25 is covering.
I did not know that.
Thank you, Jonica, I forgot about that.
Learn something new every day, think better, what was it? Do the best, know the best we can know until we know better.
And do better.
Yeah, okay. All right, anything else on student fees?
No.
Legislative update, item 6A. This is primarily about the resolution establishing our biennial budget priorities for our district, which I've written and circulated. We can vote on it to adopt it or not. We can have further discussion about it. Is there a motion?
I would move to approve the legislative advocacy resolution, specifically titled Resolution Establishing 2025 State Biennial Budget Priorities of the Glendale-River Hills School District.
Second.
And discussion?
Is this the standing ovation moment for
Take-
Carla?
You guys are first.
No, seriously, thank you for drafting.
You're out of
this.
order. It's Katie's turn here. You guys are sweet. Katie?
And to be real, I had time to skim it, I didn't get to really dig into it.
Chris?
I loved it just the way it is.
Oh, thank you. Lauren?
Thanks for the.
Danielle?
Yep, I appreciate it. It's clear. It's factual, and what the legislature can do, it clearly establishes our priorities and our points of and I won't say advocacy, but just our priorities.
Our priorities.
And for being able to talk about this budget and what's important to our district. So thank you.
And it was hard to write, but also it was easy to write because of our clear discussion about what our district priorities would be. And this, what I love about it is this did not end up saying, especially with our priorities, what I thought it would say. Right, where my head started, I ended up someplace very different because of our discussion as a little community here. So I really appreciate that, and I think it's really strong. And hopefully what it does is gives us all a roadmap as we choose our own advocacy path. And I think once, if we adopt this, because I don't know how you, I think I know how y'all are gonna vote, but if we adopt this, it also allows us each to speak on behalf of the district. Right, because with the passage of this, you don't have to be saying, I'm only speaking in my personal capacity and all that mumbo jumbo, because we as a board have adopted this and we can each speak on behalf of the board and our community with the adoption of this. So it's really nice as you build out your individual advocacy. And I would point out that Chris reminded me that because of some of the litigation that's pending and disruption at the federal level, decisions by the Joint Finance Committee on education might lag to like towards the end of June, right? It's gonna be one of the last things they address. So even though this feels like we're getting on, it's April, we still have 2 months to kind of organize advocacy around this and community organizing to get people to speak their minds. So I think this is still a useful tool for us as we think forward for the next couple months. I'm thinking a lot about maybe how we tap into students as voices, because student voices are so powerful as the clients, right, who we serve. So that's what I'm thinking about. Any other comments?
Then what, we have this resolution, what do we do with it? Is this something that we then send to all members of the Joint Finance Committee? Do we, okay.
Yes, that would be step one. I would write a cover letter and
Okay.
then send it on.
You should have representatives, correct?
Pardon me?
The joint finance committee has a
And
lot of
yes,
representatives.
yes.
Okay.
And then
Worth sharing with other school boards?
yes, I was planning to then, if it's adopted, to email it to other, our our
Yeah.
partner districts
Okay.
and board members. And then we can post it on our website, right? We could highlight it if we want, I mean, I don't know. Hopefully in a accessible way, in an ADA compliant way, that we'll have this on our website, right at the board resolution site. And then you can pop it to anyone you wanna give it to, right? And then we can always talk about how it serves.
Might make a suggestion to share internally with staff and potentially with
Yes.
families as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So can you do that with staff? Or, yeah, you can do that, right? Yeah. I think we can broadcast it. And then the other thing, I'm gonna talk with my friend Nancy, who's really good at reaching out to local news. We could share it with the city of Glendale and ask if they would publish it. We could share it with whoever the news guys are. There are a couple news reporters who frequently reach out to us, right? We could share this out with them and invite them to, or Rory, right, is another person. So yeah, I think we all have the power to switch it out there however you're inspired to do it. I don't think it has to be centralized. Yeah. Okay, all in favor of, the motion is a motion to adopt a resolution establishing 2025 state biennial budget priorities of the Glendale-River Hill School District. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the resolution is adopted, and thank you. Moving on to item 6B, staffing changes.
All right, I've attached the summer school paraprofessional agreement template as well as the summer school teacher contract template. For some reason, I'm having just a really tough time with my board docs right now because
Me too, mine's being
weird. It just bumped me out. So I'm unable to see things in admin contact. Give me 1 second, I'm gonna try to reboot. So we are looking at a paraprofessional position at Parkway to fill a vacant position that we held open, that now needs to be filled. So it's not a creation of a new position, it's just filling a vacancy. So there's an offer of intent letter that's an admin content around that for that hire, as well as the approval of the summer school staffing model that was prepared and the templates for the letter of intent for paraprofessionals and for summer school teachers.
Look at all of this. So there are 3 recommended motions. One for Laura Hoff, one for the contract template for teachers and for support staff, that's for summer, and then one for Nehemiah Alexander. So should we go through them in order? Start with.
Can I have a question? I have a question. So the contract for Nehemiah stipulates that it needs to respond by April 1st, 2024. Do we, it's 2025 and
Oh,
it's
I'm
April
so sorry.
2nd.
He's already responded, so.
Okay.
But did we go back in time and respond last year?
Yeah, yes, thank you, good catch. I feel like it takes me half a year to make sure I get all my dates right.
Okay. So Laura Hoff, would someone like to make a motion with respect to Laura Hoff?
I move to approve the appointment and contract of Laura Hoff as summer school lead teacher.
I second.
Discussion, Chris? Karen? Danielle? Katie? All right, the motion is to approve the appointment and contract for Laura Hoff as the summer school lead teacher. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, and thank you, Ms. Hoff. Next.
I move to approve summer school teaching and support staff contracts as attached to this agenda item 5A.
6A, sorry.
Okay.
It's 6B.
Okay, so let me just take that part out, hold on.
You got it.
That's
You got it.
the board docs.
These
How
are
about that?
friendly amendments, they've been made. All
okay, right.
Attached to
Nobody
this
seconded it,
agenda
right.
item 6B.
That first friendly amendment.
Yeah,
Successful
we
one.
did it. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, the motion is to approve the summer school teaching and support staff contracts as attached to this agenda item 6B. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No, motion carries. And the last one.
I move to approve Nehemiah Alexander as paraprofessional at Parkway Elementary.
I second.
Any discussion?
Do we need to do anything about that date or?
I don't think so, it's just
Well,
an
you-
example, right?
No, this is the specific offer letter.
It's the offer.
Well, we're approving the, sorry,
We are.
we're approving the hire.
Oh, we're
not
approving the
contract.
hire.
We don't have
We're,
to do
yeah, the
anything.
letter has already been sent. We
Yeah.
are now approving the hire.
Just making sure.
No, it's
Okay.
good, it's,
So the motion is to approve the hire of, am I saying it right, Nehemiah?
Mhm, yeah.
Of Nehemiah Alexander as a paraprofessional at Parkway Elementary. Yeah, because the letter has already gone out. Is what
I
you're
just
saying,
wanted to
yeah.
be sure.
Okay, yeah. All right, any further discussion? Did we have a second?
I second it.
Okay. Okay, so on the motion to approve the hire of Nehemiah Alexander as a paraprofessional at Parkway Elementary, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 6C, the teacher contract template.
Man, I'm having a hard time before drafts today. So there's a recommendation on the board to approve the 2025-26 teacher contract for a template for teachers for the upcoming school year. It's been attached to board docs. I know that I received feedback and made some adjustments based on feedback to that. If there are any other changes that the board would recommend. Other than that, we would like to move forward with this contract to support our salary proposals that we'll discuss in closed session.
Okay. Let's start with whether there's a motion.
I move to approve the 2025-2026 teacher contract template with suggested changes. Is that what I moved?
I would say move to approve the contract, and then we can get a second, and then we can discuss it.
Okay, move to approve the 2025-2026 teacher contract template in alignment with Wisconsin statute 11822.
Second.
All right, and discussion, we can start with you, Karin.
No, we can't, because I can't open the document.
Yeah, I can't either, I can't either, I just requested access to the edits.
Oh, you can't open it?
No.
Oh, here, hang on, I can fix that. There you go.
I was able to open it here. Do you want to look on my? I'm fine.
I just wanna see if things were changed, no, okay,
They're edited from there.
this is your edited one?
Well, hold on.
The-
Maybe it's not.
Here, hang on a second.
Thank you.
Draft with suggested
restricted.
changes.
Hang on a
Oh,
second.
I don't have access.
Here, I got you.
Access denied. While we're doing that, Diana, should we just all sign this while we're here? And then I can just give it to Diana.
Yeah.
This,
All right, you should now have access.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just gonna pass this.
I honestly thought it was me.
No problem, it's me. Oh, I'm signing, so you're doing, see, I had no problem.
Oh, there it is, okay.
Yeah, so changes are highlighted that were
Did you-
recommended.
Thank you.
Okay, you are not the interim superintendent is one comment I have.
Mhm.
And the other one
Okay.
was the 25,
Well, she is the interim superintendent until July 1st. Right.
Okay, well then I retract that. There was a date issue, did someone fix it? Okay, then no, then I don't have it.
Yeah, like dinner fly began and ended up the same day.
Yeah, you're done. That was not good.
It's like, that's the most well-paid staff I've ever.
I got nothing. Anything else, Brian?
No, everything's been integrated.
Okay, Chris, Katie? All right, anyone online with any comments? All right, so it is a motion to approve the 25-26 teacher contract template in alignment with Wisconsin statute 118.22. All in favor?
We have to amend it to accept the changes.
Oh, it's a motion to approve.
Oh, I thought we were moving on what's attached there, the draft with suggested changes.
No, because you had your motion without.
Oh, because that's in the administrative content. Okay. So, okay, let's do a motion to, can you do a motion to adopt the?
Do we have to withdraw the previous motion?
No, you could do a motion to adopt the changes as suggested.
Or just amend the.
Yeah. Or do it just like we've done it before, which is we're moving to approve the teacher contract template as amended per our discussion.
But there's already a motion and a second.
So
We're a small board, so we can just do it.
Oh my
Let's just do it.
goodness.
Just do it. I move to amend the motion to change to reflect the suggested edits.
Second.
All in
Okay.
favor?
Aye. So now we can move to approve.
That's some kind of subsidiary motion, but I'm not seeing it.
No.
Okay, motion, we're now voting on the motion to approve the teacher contract template
Yes.
as revised.
Correct.
Per discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
This is what happens, our brains stop working.
Yep, that's happening. All right. Next, last, substantive item, closed session.
I move to recess into closed session for section 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, specifically to discuss an administrator's salary and teacher salaries.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Oh, and we have to take a roll call vote. Katie Avalos,
Aye.
Chris Robinson.
Aye.
Karen Cronwell.
Aye.
Danielle Bailey.
Aye.
Carla Pennington Cross, aye. We are officially in closed session. We're good.
Symbolic.
We're good.
All right, we're back on camera. We're back in open session. Are there any motions?
I move to approve certified staff salaries as discussed in closed session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Is there another motion?
I move to approve the salary adjustment for the Glen Hills Associate Principal as discussed in closed session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further nope, that's closed session discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye, nay.
Motion carries.
Point of fact, I deeply value the individual.
No need to justify them. All right, any other motions? I think that's it, right?
Yep.
Okay, moving on to board planning and preview, replacing our debrief, which had become somewhat obsolete. Planning ahead, is there someone who would like to volunteer to lead the grounding for our next meeting? Don't all jump.
I've already done one.
I'll do.
Yay!
Look at you.
Way to step up. By the way, Chris staffed a table at the library for like 400 hours last Saturday.
And
Thank you so
amazing
much.
handouts.
And
Karen came to visit me and covered, please go out.
Just
thank you, both of you. And I got a nice text from someone who's like, oh, I got such good material from Chris at the library, so thank you. Next meeting, we're gonna be making decisions on some of the stuff we discussed today, and then we're gonna be doing the last piece of salary, which is non-certified staff. So that's gonna be on the next agenda, and finance and budget. And then on my planning list is to work with Danielle on doing more formal publication of the resolution, right? And then working to, we talked offline about celebrating our administrative team. Danielle's gonna reach out to the city, right, about buying an ad spot. And then I'll try to write something to just sort of celebrate that we're keeping all our administrative team and what a great job they've done for last year. So that's on my do list. And then coming up this next couple weeks before our next board meeting, there are a lot of cool opportunities to be present if you can. Friday is joint finance hearing. Next Monday, a group of students are going with Ms. Morali to a cemetery visit, Silent Heroes from the Korean War, right? So hopefully I'll be able to go to that. We're one of 48 schools nationally that was selected to do this, so I reach out to Anna if you're interested in going to this Monday morning, if you can. On the 8th in the morning is the Glendale Heights tree planting. If you're available at 9:30 in the morning, I'm gonna try to go to that. So if two of you, if you're.
Can I just ask, did anyone ever bring up the idea that like they're planting a tree on a property they're not sure they're staying at?
They built the whole thing around there, so I feel like it's
I just wanted, I wasn't gonna bring it up at
Yeah,
the moment,
yeah.
but I
They
was
know,
like, this
they're-
seems
they
awkward.
know.
Okay.
they'll enjoy it as long as they get to, I think, yeah.
There's a choir event at Nicolay next Wednesday, the 9th. The 11th is Spring Fling.
We need to notice
Do we need
that.
to notice it? Notice the tree planting
Oh.
too, please, because I do wanna try to go to that.
I also wondered about noticing the Glendale 75th.
Yes, that's next on my list, right, the Glendale
Okay,
75th.
sorry.
I wonder if you could just do it all in one notice.
Doesn't Nicolay have a standing notice?
We do have,
We do
we do too.
Oh, okay, but we just do it to be safe. to do that.
Even Nicolay does specific.
Oh, okay.
But
It's
it's
just in case people should happen.
It's actually also a good way to publicize a community event.
Right.
Yeah.
To
It
have
is,
an
it
email
is.
go out that people know.
So Spring Fling, the Glendale Heights tree, the 75 year. On the 12th, there's a chess tournament here at Glen Hills. that we're
It's
sponsoring.
actually at Parkway.
Oh, at Parkway,
And
okay.
then the North Shore Chamber of Commerce will be here on the 12th, holding a large event for all of their businesses that are part of the chamber.
Oh,
And-
here?
Yep, it'll be all on this main level, and they'll also be hosting, they'll have, I believe, like food trucks and things like that.
On the
going
12th?
on.
That's
On the
exciting.
12th, yeah.
Do you, should we, is there space for us to show up or should we not?
Yeah, anybody can join. Yeah,
Oh,
it's open
okay.
to the whole community. They
Oh.
anticipate about 5,000 guests, or 500 guests, I think.
Wow.
I was like 5,000.
Yeah, it's like-
So do people think they're gonna come to that? Should we be including that in the notice?
I'll just notice all of it,
Yeah,
just
just
say
Yeah.
that.
So there's a lot coming up in the next couple weeks.
Actually, that maybe that could go on our calendar as a district too. I don't know if people reference it, but it's
It's
not.
on there. Wait,
No,
I believe it.
I don't see
Oh,
it.
it's on the rental calendar. Yes, I can flip it over to our district calendar, and then we've advertised it in our Thursday folders too.
Oh,
Cool.
cool.
Yeah.
And then there's also a PTO, maybe foundation meeting on Thursday the 10th. So
PTO for sure.
next couple weeks are packed with opportunities for showing up if you feel like it.
Spring Fling is also not on the calendar. Oh, there it is. It's on Friday.
And
Just assuming it was a Saturday.
I will, and I'll reach out by email to all of you about, just like possibly scheduling, because I don't think that has to be an open meeting, like scheduling advocacy now for the next couple months, things we can all do.
Yeah.
Calls, emails, whatever we feel like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Social media board.
Yep. Anything else?
I'm just gonna say, woo, for last night.
Oh. My reaction was, whew. Yeah. Well, and I think it relates directly to potential success for public schools as we look at
Absolutely.
what comes forward, so. Yep. We rise.
adjourn?
Yes, please.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We just did a lot of work.
Yeah.
And we were actually pretty darn efficient, but, you know, we still have, I think we still have to keep a inventory